Never stop reading Bible. Welcome. Today we're diving into two really powerful chapters from the book of 1 Peter. We're going to unpack its advice on how to get through suffering, what it means to be humble, and how to hold on to a real sense of hope, even when life is throwing everything it has at you. You know, it's a question every single one of us bumps into at some point. When things get tough and you can't see the road ahead, where do you find your footing? Well, this ancient text gives us a way to look at hardship not as some kind of dead end, but as a really meaningful part of a much bigger story. All right, let's jump right into chapter 4. Right away, it lays out this powerful contrast. It shows us two completely different ways to live, especially when we're facing tough times. It's really a choice between two very different paths. And this slide really nails that core difference. On one side, you have suffering in the flesh, which the text presents as lining up with God's will, a path that actually refines you. And on the other side, the lusts of the flesh, which is all about chasing after our immediate human wants, a path of indulgence. The big idea here is that hardship itself is a kind of crossroads. And that brings us to this really key idea, the trial of faith. The point is that the difficulties we go through aren't just random, meaningless events. Instead, they're part of a process, kind of like a furnace that tests and purifies your faith, making it stronger. It's a huge shift in perspective, right? Suffering goes from being just an obstacle to being a purposeful experience. So, if hardship is a trial, how are we supposed to respond? Well, the text gives us two really practical things to do. First, even when you're struggling yourself, turn outward and serve other people with love. And second, look forward. Endure what's happening now with a solid hope for the future, trusting that things will be made right in the end. Now, as we move into chapter 5, we see how this whole idea gets even bigger. It takes that theme of suffering and shows us the way forward, connecting our struggles today directly to our future, all through one crucial virtue. And here it is. This is the central promise of the whole passage. It's presented as a direct link. If you share in the suffering, you will also share in the glory. This isn't just about gritting your teeth and getting through it. It's about being an active part of a journey that leads somewhere incredible. That's some serious encouragement for anyone who's struggling. The text then lays out a model for how the community should work, and there's a really clear common thread. You've got the elders, whose job is to care for everyone, and the young people, who are supposed to follow their lead. But what's the foundation for everybody? Humility. It's the essential attitude for how we relate to God and to each other. Which, brings up a very practical question. If we have these rules in our community, and we're dealing with our own personal trials and anxieties, how in the world are we supposed to manage all of that? And the text offers this super clear three-part game plan. First, stop trying to carry all your anxieties yourself, and instead cast them on God. Second, stay sharp, be vigilant, be spiritually alert. And finally, and here's that theme again, always remember that your suffering is not for nothing. It's actually building toward a future glory. So now, let's pull both of these chapters together to see the final big picture message. When you step back and look at it all, a really clear and powerful journey comes into focus. The entire message really boils down to this three-step path. It all starts with the reality of suffering. That suffering is then met with a posture of humility. Humility toward God and toward other people. And that path, the one of humble endurance, is what ultimately leads to glory. That is the core story of 1 Peter 4 and 5. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. I mean, we live in a world that's all about status, pride, and promoting yourself. So what does it actually look like in our day-to-day lives to embrace this totally countercultural idea that real strength and ultimate glory isn't found in status, but in humility? This explanation of the source material was brought to you by the Center Studio.